Generally, Vikings are portrayed as invaders, barbarians, and predators whose achievements are little more than raiding and plundering. Few of us wonder where they originated from and whether they were merely violent, godless people as portrayed in the media. In this Liber-Tea episode, we will endeavor to explain the real history of these people. The first people to settle in the Scandinavian region arrived at the shores of Denmark and Sweden around 5000 to 9000 BC. From there, they moved on to inhabit Finnmark, Norway, and Fosna. Archaeologists found concrete proof of this when they discovered the remains of a man in Denmark. Studies indicate that the man lived in Denmark around 8000 BC. Archaeological studies indicate that these people moved into the region to engage in agriculture, but some still pursued a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Historians also claim that early settlers of the region had domesticated cattle and dogs. Additionally, the unearthing of coarse tools, such as picks and axes, indicates that they may have practiced foraging and agriculture. The Sami people are the natives of Scandinavia. They lived there before the arrival of the settlers. Traces of the Sami people have been discovered alongside those of the early settlers. However, the new settlers inhabited the coastal areas where the Sami people lived inland. Like other Aboriginal societies across the globe, the Sami were forcefully assimilated by the settlers during the 9th and 10th centuries. Today, less than 100,000 Sami exist. Most live in Russia, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and Norway. The Bronze Age in Scandinavia occurred between 1800 BC and 500 BC. During this period, the settlers moved to inhabit vast areas along the region's coast. While towns and villages were non-existent during the Bronze Age, the settlers constructed wood houses which housed large kinships and families. The Norsemen of this period developed better tools and excelled in farming, fishing, hunting, and trading. They started farming barley, wheat, and millet as they developed better tool-making skills. Since they inhabited the coastal areas, fishing continued to be one of their main sources of sustenance. Adventurous Norsemen explored inland regions too, among other things, hunt deer, elk, and other big game. The commencement of the Iron Age in 500 BC brought many challenges to the settlers. This period was politically and climatically difficult for the early Norsemen. Climate deterioration in Scandinavia had a detrimental effect on agriculture. Additionally, the Celtic people and raging wars in Central Europe curtailed trade. These challenging times caused the Norsemen to become self-reliant. They survived on game meat and fish and exploited the iron deposits found in some parts of the region. They also began to look for new trade routes actively. In the process of finding trade routes, they encountered the Romans. The people of Scandinavia spoke Old Norse and used runes for inscriptions. They adhered to the Old Norse religion for most of the period until the decline of the Viking Age. Just like any other civilization, the Vikings had their architecture, laws, and art. Popular conceptions of the Danes differ remarkably from the complex and advanced Viking civilization that springs from various historical and archaeological findings. As communities expanded and chieftains became more powerful, each ruler desired to gain prestige by exploiting various economic activities. This also secured the survival of their respective communities. The battle for superiority occasioned fighting and scuffles among the tribes. The Danes were tough people who lived through tough conditions due to climate change and economic hardships. Their near constant state of battle also caused them to become warlike people. Thus, economic deterioration, political instability, and civil strife ushered in the Viking Age, which has dominated the region's history to date. Some historians claim that the Danes may have started their raids in pursuit of women from foreign lands. The 10th century historian Dudo of St. Quentin established this sentiment in the history of the Normans. Indeed, rich and powerful Danes had many wives and concubines. As such, average Viking men experienced a shortage of eligible women to marry. Consequently, this caused the average Viking males to engage in risky undertakings to gain wealth and fame, allowing them to find suitable mates. In the course of their raids, they often captured or bought women who they married or made mistresses. According to sociologists, polygamy enhances male-male competition, as it creates a pool of bachelors eager to pursue risky status-elevating and sex-seeking activities. Per the Annals of Ulster, the Vikings in 821 plundered Irish villages and carried off many women into captivity. Vikings were accomplished sailors and navigators who, from the 8th century CE to the 11th century CE, pirated, pillaged, and settled across continental Europe. As accomplished navigators, they voyaged to different parts of the world, including North America, North Africa, the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and Volga, Bulgaria. The Vikings did not raid and settle in all countries they visited. However, whenever they settled, their hosts quickly assimilated them. The Viking Age allowed the Danes to establish a reputation that was beyond barbarism. While the lust for riches and power drove some, many desired peaceful relations with their neighbors. Many modern perceptions of these people spring from Catholic propaganda. During the Viking Age, they sacked many Catholic facilities, which led to the disappearance of valuable treasures and relics. Although the Lindisfarne raid of 793 occurred at the beginning of the Viking Age, it remains one of their most infamous acts. Aggrieved by the attacks, the Catholic Church actively sought to dehumanize them. As such, the Viking names sunk into disrepute until the 19th and 20th centuries, when we began to view them as noble savages due to, among other things, their prowess in conquest and proud culture. Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope you have enjoyed and learned something new. Like, share, and subscribe to Liber-Tea for more insightful discussions.